As tensions continue to escalate in Afghanistan, our correspondent Nas Malik sat down with Mohammed Umer Daudzai, who is the Afghan president's special envoy for Pakistan affairs and was the chief staff to President Hamid Karzai twice. Listen in to his understanding of the situation and what the future holds for Afghanistan.
Sir, Assalamu alaikum. How is the situation like with Pakistan right now?
Pakistan made some policy choices. There's no limit in this war. Well, in a country when the war is going on in 31 out of 34 provinces, and where hundreds, if not thousands, of military personnel on both sides and civilians are killed, and thousands are displaced every day, then you have no choice but to call the situation as grave. It's the gravest situation since I've seen from the 1980s when the country was occupied by the Soviet Union. It is worrying because we thought that Taliban may not start attacking major cities. It's not a good news, it's a bad news. It indicates that there's no limit in this war. Any place, anywhere is at risk of being attacked. Well, I don't know. Maybe Ambassador Khalilzad is interacting more with Taliban, and he may have heard something from Taliban. But what we are hearing from Taliban, they're not yet interested in a combined kind of administration. When you say the Taliban wants a major share, that means they're willing to have a shared administration. But I don't see any signs of that Taliban are willing to negotiate a joint administration, a shared administration. We all witnessed that in the past at least 1 year. The U.S. presented a roadmap for peace, a plan for peace. And the Afghan government in the Afghan Reconciliation Council also presented many roadmaps or many plans for peace, and somehow they reconciled them also. But we are still awaiting from Taliban their vision of a plan, of a roadmap for peace. Unless we have an officially announced roadmap from Taliban about peace, I think everything else is just a rumor. When the U.S. was coming into the region back in 2001, Pakistan made some policy choices. Now, as the U.S. is moving out, that country may be in the process of making policy choices. Now, it's unfortunate that while they're making those policy choices, our relationship is at the lowest. I mean, relationship between Kabul and Islamabad is at the lowest. It's partly because Kabul has complaints that Pakistan is not cooperating with the peace process as is expected from them. And secondly, we are driven by accidents also. The kidnapping and torture of the daughter of our ambassador in Islamabad, whether it's accidental or orchestrated, but the result is the same. It pushed the president to call in all his senior diplomats back to Kabul. Right now, our investigation team is in Islamabad, meeting with the Pakistani investigation team. A lot depends on the outcome of this investigation mission. So when they come back, then we can predict when we can resume our diplomatic relationship at the normal level. Well, we were planning a high-level mission to go to Pakistan. More or less the same people that they invited to the peace conference. There was a plan that they will go anyway from Kabul to discuss or to have a heart-to-heart discussion with Pakistan. Now, just before Eid, Pakistan one-sidedly organized the peace conference without a proper coordination and consultation with their Afghan counterpart. And as a result of that lack of coordination, there was a conflict between that conference and the mission to Doha, the mission that Dr. Abdullah led. So the same people could not be in two places at the same time. So then we suggested that please do it later, and please do a better coordination in terms of its organizing. It was called off to be rediscussed after Eid. But then the accident, the diplomatic accident, now further delayed that conference. India has been deeply involved in the reconstruction and development of Afghanistan. India's role in war and peace in Afghanistan is almost equal to nil, and that's good. But now we are at a stage that if the situation in Afghanistan is not controlled, the threat is to the whole region. The threat is to India, the threat is to Russia, the threat is to China and to Iran and many other countries around us. So India now has a responsibility to play their role in the peace process. My humble suggestion would be that now India is a big power, not only in the region, globally. They could facilitate, or they could encourage a special UN Security Council meeting on Afghanistan, a senior meeting that would not only call for peace or ceasefire, that should make decisions on how to stop this war in Afghanistan. Yes, for this current episode, I think it's a mistake on the U.S. part. Yes, they claim that they had warned earlier that they would depart. No, there were not a single voice that we were hearing. We were hearing different voices from different departments of the U.S. For instance, their military side was saying, don't worry, we will never leave you alone. We will never leave Afghanistan. But then the White House was saying something different, and the State Department was saying something different. Many countries have that kind of attitude, but in this particular situation, I think their withdrawal was irresponsible. They still have the opportunity to convert their irresponsible withdrawal to a responsible withdrawal. And that is to facilitate, at first stage, a ceasefire, and then assist with a meaningful dialogue, because they are no longer the enemy of Taliban. The animosity ended on 29 February last year. So they are, I'm not saying they're friends of Taliban. So they are neutral between the Afghan government and Taliban, and that gave them a chance to play their role more positively, more sincerely, and more insistingly to ensure that there is a ceasefire. Continuation of the war in Afghanistan is in nobody's interest. It's not in any neighbor's interest. It's not in any European or American power's interest. I don't see the possibility of a major refugee crisis, but I do see the possibility of a major IDP crisis, internally displaced crisis. And why I don't see a major refugee crisis? It's because now it's not open for every Afghan to cross over to Pakistan or Iran. The line of control on both sides are fenced, and there are doors to be checked. So, and people know that. And moreover, people don't have good memories of being refugees in Iran or in Pakistan. They don't want to go back to that. Now, in Afghanistan, within Afghanistan, still there are places that are stable, that are secure, and that will remain so. So I think we'll have to be prepared for a major IDP crisis. But a minor refugee crisis, a minor, I mean some who gets visa to cross over to Pakistan or get visa to cross over to Iran, or few of them may be smuggled. They might be taken by human traffickers to Iran and then to Turkey. That has been going on for many years. So it will not exacerbate to a level that would alert the world. I think IDP situation is going to be very, very grave, very, very severe. Okay, the meeting was primarily to keep them aware of the situation, of the war situation, and also of the 6 months military plan that the president is talking about. It was primarily aimed at that. But on the other hand, the countries that participated had been Afghanistan's partners for the past 20, 21 years. And they were all expecting that with the departure of the U.S., then Taliban would lose the cause of fighting foreigners, so they are no longer here. And there were expectations that we will get closer to the peace. Therefore, those countries still are partners. They need to be aware. What I am aware, all those countries which had been our traditional partners in war and peace and reconstruction and development in the past 20 years, they are revising their stance. They are trying to increase their support to the Afghan government.